All right, welcome back in Alive Now. I'm Austin Westfall. Let's get the latest on that Air India crash. We continue to follow the developments. The latest is we're learning more about the jet and what happened in the cockpit before it crashed. When it crashed, it killed over 250 people in Western India. The Wall Street Journal, now with some exclusive reporting, saying that the focus of the investigation is shifting to the senior pilot in the cockpit. The Journal says a U.S. assessment of the black box data shows that the pilot is likely to have cut off the fuel supply before it went down, killing everyone except for one person on board. The co-pilot, meanwhile, reportedly expressed panic, while the senior pilot remained calm. The investigation isn't complete, but the new details raise a lot of questions. Byron Jaffe is a former longtime commercial pilot. This is a troubling report, Byron. A calm captain and a panicked co-pilot. What kind of picture does that paint to you?
Well, sadly, it paints the issue of mental health that is prevalent in our society, and it's a stigma by a lot of people. And in aviation professions, mental health is really looked at as very pervasive as a stigma to many pilots. And if there is a mental health issue amongst somebody in the pilot group, they are very hesitant to come out and speak about it or reach out to get help.
And I have to be clear when I say this. It has not been confirmed if this was something nefarious on the captain's part. That's something we simply don't know yet. But should this spur conversation about pilots on all flights?
Well, there have been instances in the last 10 years of accidents that were caused by either confirmed or suspicious activity that was indicated of a suicide by the pilot. There was German Wings. There was a Silk Air crash, Egypt Air crash in 1999. There was a China Eastern crash a few years ago. And then, of course, Malaysia 370 was unproven. Really, they don't know what caused it because they haven't found the black box of the recorder, but they suspect suicide from the pilot accident in that. So it is a concern out there in the community in the last 10 years.
Is there any other reasonable explanation as to why the captain might cut the fuel to the engines?
Not at that particular instance where they had just been airborne, literally 5 seconds. You would not be doing any action like that until you were at a much higher altitude and ran some checklists to make some confirmations. So it is leading towards, sadly, that it may have been a suicide murder act by one of the pilots, the captain, I guess they're saying right now, is the reporting.
Is this a conversation that you and other pilots in your network have had with each other? The idea of pilot mental health, is this something that's talked about in your circles?
Mental health is not really talked about per se between pilot individuals, but at the major U.S. airlines, specifically the one I worked for 40 years, American, Delta, Southwest, United, they have very strong mental health resources that are available to pilots if they feel they are under stress. Specifically, there's this project that's a peer-to-peer pilot called Project Wingman at American Airlines, and it was instituted in 2011. It has 40 or so they're actual pilots, they're volunteers, and they're trained to deal with mental health issues. They have training and they have resources available. And it's a confidential program so that if you are having some stress in your life or some type of issue, personal issue, or at work or at home, you can come and call these folks and confidentially express what is bothering you, and they will assist you in trying to get help where it won't be reported to the airline or the FAA.
So, Byron, I got to ask you about the co-pilot here. The co-pilot apparently was panicking at the time that the fuel was cut off to the engines. Is the co-pilot capable of overriding the captain in any scenario like that?
In certain scenarios, yes, the co-pilot can take action to override if the captain is incapacitated or for some reason not executing the proper procedure or duties. But, in these Asian and Far East communities, it's very difficult. The culture is very difficult where someone who is a co-pilot to actually take control of the airplane or override a captain. But in the United States in the last 10, 15 years, the training has been towards where co-pilots can speak up when a captain is doing something that they feel is not safe or out of the ordinary.
Why is it so easy? And this is a tough question to answer, but why is it so easy for something like this to happen?
You know, I was going back to reviewing some pilot traits, pilot personality traits. Pilots, a lot of pilots are type A personalities. They are assertive, they're analytical, they're suspicious. But one thing that pilots are is very prevalent. They're very emotionalist sometimes, and they can't express themselves. And they have a very low tolerance for poor performance or for personal imperfection, whether it's with themselves or other people. And a lot of people say that spouses, family members, pilots have a very difficult time of expressing complex emotions to other people, and that needs to be addressed, in the future and when these situations happen.
It's a tough situation to report on as we learn more and more about this. Again, we don't have an absolute concrete idea of what happened yet. This is all from Wall Street Journal reporting based on a U.S. assessment of the black box data on that plane. Certainly a lot of investigating to go, but for now, we'll leave it at that. Byron Jaffe, as always, appreciate having you on. We'll talk with you soon.
Good night. Thank you.
So, this is what the Wall Street Journal, again, they had the exclusive. They got their hands on the U.S.'s assessment of the black box data. This is how they phrased their headline. The captain of the doomed Air India flight likely switched off fuel flow. That's according to the black box recording. The captain remaining calm while the first officer panicked. Certainly a distressing situation.